My name is Emma Collins. I'm 28. I grew up in a small town in Ohio. I like coffee that is too strong, thrift store dresses, and Saturday morning runs that make my legs ache in a good way. I met Mark 3 years ago at a friend's barbecue. He had a quiet smile and a laugh that came from his chest. He told me he loved old movies and the smell of rain. I said I loved the same things, and for a long while, that felt like enough. Now, as I write this in my head, the memory that sits like a stone in my chest is the night our marriage broke. I will tell you the whole thing, but first I need to show you the moment that changed everything. This is the part that will make your heart jump and your mouth go dry. We were in our honeymoon suite. It smelled like lilies and stale champagne. The wedding had been bright and loud for hours, and then, finally, everyone had slept. Mark lay on his side, his back to me. He was breathing slow. His suit jacket was on a chair. My dress was still tucked in the closet because we hadn't taken pictures for later. My hair was pulled up in a twisted knot, and my hands were shaking, not from the wedding, but from something I could not name. I tried to touch him. I reached out to brush his shoulder with my fingertips. He turned his face away. He didn't say anything. He folded tighter into himself like a seed hiding from frost. I thought he was tired. Maybe overwhelmed. Maybe he was nervous. I whispered his name. He did not answer. I waited. And then I felt a cold that had nothing to do with the room. I felt small and foolish. It was our wedding night. The night you were supposed to feel safe with the person you love. He refused to touch me. He refused me with silence. I stepped off the bed and walked toward the dresser. His phone was there, glowing in the dark. People have different rules about privacy. Some people would have never touched their partner's phone. I know that. I used to be that person. But there was a line inside me, an animal alarm, that had been buzzing for weeks, and it would not stop. Maybe it was a dress that had been torn in a small way. Maybe it was a look he had given our bridesmaid at the reception when no one else was looking. Maybe it was the way he pulled his hand away when I reached for it at dinner. I could not explain it. I only knew that I could not sleep until I knew. I opened his phone while he slept. The screen unlocked with his thumb. I saw messages I was not meant to see. I kept scrolling until I saw a video with a name I recognized, Lila.mp4. Lila. She had been my bridesmaid since college. She was the one who found the perfect shoes on a Tuesday afternoon when I cried over sizes. She was in the front row when I said yes to Mark. Lila was a woman I had trusted with my hairbrush. My hands were shaking as I tapped the video. The movie filled the screen. It was short. It was grainy. It was in our bed. It was Mark. It was Lila. You can imagine what that means. I will not describe intimate things. I will tell you what it did to me. The world went thin as tissue paper. The room tilted. Sound left me. The lilies on the table outside the bedroom window seemed to lean away from me. I pressed my thumb to the screen until the glass fogged with sweat. I did not watch the whole video. I had to stop. I put the phone down and sat on the edge of the bed. Mark slept on, like a man who had not been in his own life for hours. Lila's laugh from earlier in the day, the kind that used to sound like wind chimes, swam into my head and burned. I felt as if the floor had fallen out from under my feet. I did the only thing I felt I could do. I snapped a photo of the paused video with my own phone. I went into the bathroom and locked the door. For a moment I wanted to scream so loud the walls would crack. Instead, I sank onto the cold tile and pressed my forehead to my knees. I cried without making sounds. My body folded, then shook, and then was very still. I did not leave the bathroom. I chose to stay and think because leaving would mean going out into a house full of people who might wake up and smile like nothing had happened. I imagined Lila's face when I saw her the next day. I imagined Mark's calm voice. I imagined the speeches. My stomach rolled. My mind jumped backwards like a skipping stone. I remembered the morning Mark proposed. He got down on one knee behind a diner at the very place where the sun rose over a rusty sign. He said kind, honest things. He cried a little, like a man who had practiced being brave. I said yes, and it felt like a good choice. I remembered Lila helping me pin flowers to my dress and whispering, "You're going to glow." I remembered how we had all laughed about dumb things. I remembered 1,000 little soft moments that now looked wobbly and false. I had a plan. Not a big, white plan. Just a small thing I could do in the dark. I would not wake Mark. I would not storm out and cause a scene on our wedding night. I would give him a chance to explain in the morning. I told myself this while my heart hit my ribs so hard I thought it would burst. I wrapped a towel around my head and moved quietly through the suite. I took the phone with me so I could show the evidence if I had to. I wanted proof, and I wanted to be calm when I showed it. Calm is a strange kind of weapon. Outside the bathroom, the hallway felt soft and empty. The other rooms were closed like shells. I walked towards the living room where we had left our shoes and coats. My mind made a map of what I thought would happen. Wake up Mark, show him the phone, ask him why, get an answer, cry, leave, start to rebuild. That was the map I made for myself so my legs would not fall out from under me. When I reached the living room, there was a note on the coffee table. It was in Mark's handwriting with a small, neat curve to his letters. Emma, it read, I can't do this tonight. I need space. I'm sorry. M. The note looked like a contract that had been torn up and thrown on the floor. I slid the phone under the couch cushion and sat down. I felt oddly calm for a breath. Maybe this would be simple. Maybe he would wake up and explain. Maybe there would be a simple reason. I searched for reasons. Maybe Lila and Mark were just friends. Maybe the video was an old thing. Maybe it was a joke or a bad cut. My head made tiny ladders to climb over to hope. But each rung broke. 2 hours later, I woke up to the sound of voices downstairs. Someone laughed, a brittle sound like a cracked bell. My heart hit another beat in my throat. I tiptoed to the door of the suite and cracked it open. The hotel corridor glowed with light. Faces moved like shadows. I saw Lila walking toward the elevator, her hair loose and her lipstick smudged. She was talking to someone else, the same friend who had fixed my veil. She looked at me and her eyes cut like paper. She did not look surprised to see me standing there. She looked very much like someone who had been hiding something heavy for a long time. I pulled the phone from under the couch and scrolled through messages. There were texts from Lila at odd hours, sweet, flirty words, tiny jokes that now looked like knives. There were also messages to other people, messages I did not understand, comments about after and when it's quiet. My mouth tasted like pennies. My hands were shaking again. I knew what I had to do. I could leave. I could take my bag and vanish into the night. I could find the car keys and drive until the road lost its edges. But the house was full of family members and our friends. People I loved would wake up to find me gone. And part of me, a stubborn, hopeful part, wanted to hear Mark's voice say a truth that would fix the crack. I wanted him to be the man who would look at me and say he had made a mistake and that he would never do it again. I wanted to believe my life had not been a lie. I went back to the bedroom. Mark slept like a man who had earned a long rest. He had his hand over his face. There was a bruise on his cheek from where someone had bumped him earlier at the reception. My throat closed around the grief. I sat on the bed and watched him breathing. Then I put the phone on the nightstand and waited. When the sun came up, it lit the room with a tired kind of honesty. Mark woke and blinked. He asked, mourning, like a man who thought the world was the same as the night before. I swallowed a sound and handed him the phone. He froze like a deer. His face turned gray. He thumbed the screen with shaking fingers. I watched his jaw tick. He did not try to take it away from me. He did not pull a lie out of his sleeve like a magician. For a moment, I thought he might collapse. He sank onto the edge of the bed and held his head in his hands. Emma, he said at last. The voice was small. He began to speak in a way that felt rehearsed and also shattered. He said things that tried to make the room small and soft. I'm sorry. It happened once. It was a mistake. It was before the wedding. I didn't mean for it to. His words tripped over themselves. He said that he loved me. He said he would explain. He said it was complicated. I listened to each word and measured it like a coin. It did not fit into my palm. When he said, before the wedding, I thought, why did he refuse to touch me then? Why did he sleep like nothing heavy had happened? Why had the video been in our bed? Why did Lila look at me like a stranger? His explanations were paper mended with tape. Then Mark stood up. He looked like a man made of glass. He said, I need air, and walked out of the room. He did not take his shoes. He left the door open. I followed him into the hall. At the suite's sliding doors, he paused and leaned on the railing. Below, the courtyard cleaned itself with late risers and empty champagne glasses. He was quiet for a long time. The sun caught his shoulders. "Emma," he whispered, "I didn't want to hurt you." "What happened, Mark?" I asked. My voice was a thin wire. He turned so fast I thought he might fall. His face was wet with something, sweat or tears, I could not tell. "We made a mistake," he said. "It was wrong." "I'm so sorry." "Was it just once?" I asked. He looked at me like I had asked the wrong question. "Yes," he said. "It was once." My mind made a small, sharp calculation. If it was once, why would there be more messages? Why would Lila's laugh at the reception be like something hiding? He looked like a man trapped in a net of his own honesty and shame. Then something happened that I did not expect. Lila came out of the elevator and walked toward the suite with a bouquet of flowers in her hand. She moved slowly, like someone who did not want to meet their own reflection. She stopped when she saw us. Her face was pale. "Emma," she said. Her voice was thin. "We need to talk." Mark turned to her. His face changed in the way faces do when a mask slips. He seemed smaller. I wanted to ask Lila to leave. I wanted to throw the flowers at her feet and shout until my throat was raw. I wanted to collapse and not be noticed. But before I could say anything, Lila reached out and touched Mark's arm. It was a gentle touch. No one else saw it, but it made something snap in my chest. It was a small move, and yet it felt like a world falling apart. Mark's eyes softened for a second, like a page turning back to something familiar. I felt something inside me break. I walked across the room. I was going to tell them both to leave. I was going to ask them why they had done this to me. I was going to tell them how their choices had ruined the clean map of my life. My feet moved like someone else's. The word betrayal crawled across the skin of my mind. Then, like a bolt, an extreme new thing happened. Mark stepped forward and grabbed my hand. It was not gentle. He held it like a man trying to steady himself against a storm. Lila said my name. Her voice shook. "Emma, please." We all looked at one another in that strange, thin morning light. The bouquet of flowers slipped from Lila's hand and scattered petals across the floor like small pale flags. Someone in the corridor laughed. The laugh sounded off, like it belonged to a different story. Mark pulled me close without warning. He whispered fiercely into my ear, "Don't do this. Please. Don't make this worse." I felt the heat of his breath and the cold of everything else. I did not know whether he was trying to protect me or protect himself. Lila stood frozen, like a statue that had lost its feet. My heart pounded like an animal trapped between bars. I remember thinking, either I walk away now and my life goes one way, or I stay and ask the questions that might save nothing. I remember the sound of the petals under my feet when I moved. I remember the way the morning felt like the last page of a book that had been ripped out. And then, the extreme event that would end this chapter, an event so loud and wild that it did not belong to ordinary heartbreak, came like thunder. Someone slammed the suite door with such force that the walls vibrated. Everyone jumped. The maid who had been passing outside for the cleaning schedule stood in the corridor, eyes wide. She stared at us, as if we were a scene she had not expected to find in her day. Behind her, other hotel guests turned in their bathrobes and peered out. The corridor filled with a sudden hush. Mark looked at me. Lila looked at Mark. The maid looked at all of us. I felt the phone burn in my pocket where the photo of the paused video was. My world shrank to the size of that phone. The maid's voice trembled when she spoke. "Sir," she said to Mark, "there's a man downstairs asking for you. He says he's family." Her words sounded small and dangerous. Mark's face went white in a way that said the world had just tilted and exposed something darker. He whispered, "Family? Who?" Then he swore softly, a word I had never heard him use. The corridor was suddenly full of people leaning forward, curious and alarmed. Lila stepped back like someone hit by wind. Mark looked like a man seeing a shadow he had let grow in his life. He said, "I need to go." He started for the door. I could have let him go. I could have watched him run and never come back. But something in my bones pushed me forward. I reached out and grabbed his sleeve. "Where are you going?" I asked. He did not answer. He yanked his arm away and left the suite in a rush, leaving the door open behind him. Lila stood, frozen, the bouquet half in her hand and petals on the floor. I stood in the doorway, my phone heavy in my pocket, the picture of the paused video burning against my leg like a secret match. The hotel corridor hummed with voices like bees. I watched Mark run down the stairs. I did not know who the man downstairs was. I did not know if he was family or someone else. I did not know how many pieces of my life would fall with the slam of that door. But I knew one thing: as the door swung and the wind of that movement cooled my face, nothing would be the same by sundown. I waited on the threshold, feeling small and enormous at the same time, while the world held its breath. I ran after him. My feet thudded on the carpeted stairs like a drum. My heart beat hard. I wanted to stop him. I wanted to make him stay. I wanted to grab him and ask him why he had lied. The hallway lights seemed too bright. People were peeking out of their doors in their pajamas. Someone shouted down the stairs, "Hey, what's going on?" But no one came to help. No one could help. I reached the bottom of the stairs just as Mark burst through the hotel doors. The air outside tasted like cut grass and city smoke. He moved fast, like a man who had to get away from something that was catching up to him. There were steps down to the street. The hotel parking lot had a few cars and a valeted black SUV blinking its lights. When I ran out, I stopped short. A man stood at the bottom of the hotel steps. He was tall and heavy and looked older than Mark. He wore a jacket and his hair was short and neat. He was not a hotel worker. He had a voice like gravel when he spoke. "Mark," the man called. "You can't run." Mark stopped and turned. For a second, their faces were close, and I saw a story in them I did not know. The man looked angry. He looked tired. It felt like the man had been waiting for Mark for a long time. His eyes rested on Mark like someone who had lost something he thought he would never find again. "Who is he?" I asked. My voice sounded small and shaky. "Family," Mark said. He swallowed. "My uncle. He flew in today." My mind stumbled on the word uncle. The man took a step closer. "You promised me you'd be careful," he said to Mark. "You promised you would wait. I helped you. I gave you money. You said you'd be smart." Mark did not answer. He stood with his hands in his pockets like a boy who had been caught in a lie. The man looked at me and then at Lila, who had come down the stairs behind me. Her face was pale like paper. Her lips trembled. She clutched the bouquet like a shield. "I didn't know he was coming," Mark said quickly, like a child explaining himself. "He called at the worst time." The man did not listen. He took a step closer to Mark and grabbed his jacket. "You think I don't know what you've been doing?" the man said. His voice shook with anger. "You think I don't know about the debts? About the people waiting?" My stomach fell. Debts? People waiting? I remembered the small, nervous way Mark had sometimes looked at his phone. I remembered him checking messages with a worried face. I had chalked it up to work. I had not thought of money. I had not thought of danger. Now, danger felt very real. Mark pulled away from the man. "Uncle, please," he said. "Not here. Please." "You're not thinking about the wedding," the man said. "You're thinking about money. You promised your father you'd be clean. You said you'd make it right." Lila's eyes met mine. For the first time, I saw fear in her face that had nothing to do with being caught. It was a look of someone who had been pushed into a place she did not want to be. She looked like someone who had done a thing she could not take back. My chest tightened so hard that I could not breathe. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell the man to leave. I wanted the world to be like it had been the day Mark proposed, with only sun and small promises. But that world had slipped away like water. There were new people now, people with questions and mouths and names. The man reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. He threw it at Mark's feet. It hit the pavement and burst open. Money spilled out like a small waterfall. Mark's face went white. He crouched and scooped the bills up like a boy gathering seashells. The man looked like he had been waiting to see Mark do that. "This is the last time," the man said. "You cross me again, and I won't warn you." His words were a hard thing. He pointed to Mark. Then he pointed to Lila. "And you," he said to her. "You keep your hands to yourself. You do what I tell you until I'm paid." Lila's face crumpled. She put the bouquet down on the steps and sank to the pavement. Her shoulders shook. I wanted to go to her, but something in me stopped. She had been part of this. She had been in my bed. She had been in my life. There were so many reasons to hurt her, and maybe some reasons not to. My brain felt like a fog. Please, Mark said again, softer. He looked like a boy now, not the man I thought I knew. He kept the money in his hands and clutched it like a lifeline. Please just give me time. The man looked at the money. He looked at the wedding shoes sitting in the back of a car. He looked at the sign that said, "Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Collins." Then he looked back at Mark. You had time, he said. Too much time. He turned and walked away. He did not look back. It felt like a quiet answer that held more thunder. He left the hotel like someone who had finished a job. The parking lot hummed with the engines of cars. Lila sat on the steps and pressed her palms to her eyes. I stood there like a ghost. My wedding dress still hung in the hotel room. My hair was pinned in a twisted knot. I heard the hotel door close behind the man and imagined him getting into a car and leaving. I imagined a phone call going out from him to someone else. I imagined doors opening to men in suits. My mind started making ugly pictures. I did not know which pictures were true. Mark looked up at me with wet eyes. Emma, he whispered. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to ruin tonight. I wanted to fix it. I thought I could fix it before anyone knew. The words fell out like coins. They did not fix anything. They did not mend my broken map. They only made more cracks. I did not know what to do. I wanted to leave. I wanted to run and never look back. I also wanted to make him stay and explain. My feet felt heavy. I realized I had been holding the phone in my hand the whole time. The photo of the paused video was still there. My thumb had left a smear on the screen. I could see Lila's hair in the picture and Mark's shoulder. It felt like a burn in my palm. Emma, please, Mark said again. Don't make a scene. We'll talk. Please. Talk. I said. We can talk while you pay back people? We can talk while you. I could not finish. My voice was stuck in my throat. He stepped forward and grabbed my hand with both of his. His fingers were cold and shaking. I love you, he said. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I didn't mean to hurt you. Please, give me a chance. His words moved inside me and made a small ache. I remembered the first time he kissed me under the orange glow of a diner sign. I remembered holding his hand on the bus. I remembered his laugh. The memory tugged at me like a child asking to be held. But there was also the video in my phone and the man who had just thrown money on the pavement. I pulled my hand away. I need to think, I said. I need to go back to the room. Mark watched me go. He did not follow. Lila stayed on the steps, and I could hear her sobs when I closed the hotel door behind me. The elevator ride up felt like moving through water. I kept my phone in my hand like a stone. Back in the room, the noise of the wedding felt far away. The linens smelled like lilies. The sunlight was softer now, but the room felt colder. I sat on the couch and put my head in my hands. My mind would not stop. It made questions and turned them over. Why would Mark do this? Why would Lila be in the video? Who was the man with the money? How much of my life was a story made up by other people? I reached for the phone and opened the photo. The image was sharp and simple. It captured a moment and made it into a thing I could not unsee. The pause button glowed on the screen like a trap. I scrolled through Mark's messages. There were texts about money, times, code words. There were words like due and pay. There were names I didn't know. I called my sister. My hands trembled as I thumbed the contact. She picked up on the second ring. Emma, she said, sleep in her voice. What's wrong? I told her everything in a rush, words spilling like water. I told her about the video, about Mark's note, about the man, about the money. She was quiet for a long time. Oh, she said finally. Come home. Get out of there. Don't stay. Home, I said. I can't just go home. I just got married. Right now, she said. Just pack. Pack anything you want and come home. We will figure it out. Her words made a warm place inside me. It felt like a lifeline. But then I remembered Lila's face and the way she had looked at me in the corridor. I remembered Mark's hands and the money on the pavement. I felt like my life had two doors and both were dangerous. I hung up and sat in the quiet. The sun moved and the room grew longer. I had to decide what to do. I could leave now with my sister and start over. I could stay and ask Mark for a true answer. I could do nothing and let the story happen to me. I stood and walked to the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were red and my hair was a mess. I looked like someone who had been living in a dream that just broke. I wanted to be brave. I wanted to be small and wise. I made a small plan. Not a big plan. Just a start. I would not confront Lila yet. I would not cause a scene. I would pack a small bag. I would leave my wedding dress folded neatly in the closet. I would leave a note. I would go to my sister's house. I would not decide forever. I would decide only for the next hour. I began to pack. I put in my favorite sweater, a toothbrush, some socks. I placed the phone with the picture into my bag. I felt like I was taking a piece of glass with me. I zipped the bag and stood in the middle of the room. Then my phone buzzed. It lit up with a notification. My heart jumped out of my chest. The screen showed a message from an unknown number. Did you see this? There was a link. I did not click it. My hand shook. I thought of the man downstairs, of the money, of Lila, of Mark. My stomach dropped. Then another notification came. This one was from a friend who had been at the wedding. Emma, are you okay? The message said. Have you seen the video? It's all over my feed. My breath stopped. My fingers moved before I could think. I opened the link. The screen filled with a video. It showed my honeymoon suite. It showed a bed where I had slept. It showed a paused image that looked like the photo in my phone. Then the video continued. It was the same as what I had seen on Mark's phone, but it was not paused. It played. People in the comments were shouting and crying. The uploader's name was a handle I did not know. Panic hit like a wave. My plan to leave with my bag evaporated. The room began to spin. Below, somewhere outside, a car horn blared. In the hotel, the front desk phone began to ring. My phone buzzed again and again. People were texting. People were calling. The world outside the door was changing fast. I realized one very sharp thing. Someone had made the video public. Someone had taken it from Mark's phone or from somewhere else and put it where everyone could see. I did not know who. I did not know why. But I knew that this was not just my private pain anymore. It was something that could be seen by strangers, by family, by strangers who would tell other strangers. It was no longer mine to hold quietly. The noise of the room felt too loud. I pressed my palms to my eyes and tried to breathe. Then the new extreme event happened. Footsteps thundered down the hotel corridor. Voices shouted. A man's voice called the hotel by name, asking for Mark Collins and saying something about press. The sound of keys turned in locks. The day outside was changing into something I could not stop. I stood on the edge of everything I knew and watched the world push forward, and I realized I had a choice to make. I didn't move at first. I stood frozen in the middle of the hotel room like I had been glued to the carpet. My bag sat open on the couch. My wedding shoes were still beside the bed. My whole life, every gentle day, every soft memory, every plan I had made, felt like it was cracking under my feet like thin ice. Outside the door, the shouting grew louder. Where is he? Someone saw him in the lobby. Check the second floor. Hotel staff rushed past the door. Their radios buzzed and clicked. Someone said the words police and press in the same sentence. I felt my heart thud so hard it shook my ribs. I knew the video would cause trouble. I did not know it would explode like this. I picked up my phone again. More messages. More missed calls. A few friends. A cousin. A coworker. All asking the same thing. Emma, are you okay? Is this real? Do you need help? I didn't answer anyone. My throat felt tight like a hand was squeezing it. I went to the window and looked down at the parking lot. A small crowd had formed outside, hotel guests, curious strangers, and people holding up their phones like shields. I saw flashes of light. Someone's camera. Someone recording. Someone capturing pieces of my ruined wedding night like it was entertainment. My legs felt weak, but I forced myself to move. I grabbed my bag. I needed to leave before the chaos swallowed me whole. I didn't want the press to see me. I didn't want strangers to post my face online. I wanted my sister. I wanted air. Just as I opened the door, I heard footsteps pounding up the hallway. It was Mark. He ran toward the suite like a storm wind, almost crashing into the wall. His hair was messy, and his tie hung crooked around his neck. His shirt was wrinkled and half untucked. His face was full of panic. When he saw me, he skidded to a stop. "Emma, don't go." His voice cracked. "Please. Just listen." I didn't say anything. I stepped back into the room. He followed and shut the door behind him quickly, like he was trying to hide us both from something outside. He pressed his back to the door, breathing hard. "They're downstairs," he said, trying to catch his breath. "The press. Somebody leaked the video. Someone's sending it around. They know my name. They know yours." The air felt cold against my skin. "Mark," I said quietly, "how did the video get out? Who had it? Who sent it?" His eyes flicked to the side. "A bad sign." I don't know." "Yes, you do," I said. My voice wasn't loud, but it was sharp enough to make him wince. "I found it on your phone. You had it saved." "Who else had it?" He swallowed. "Emma, please. This is not the time." "Then when is the time?" I snapped. "Because last night I was your wife, and this morning I'm the main character in some viral joke." He shut his eyes. His hands shook. "I'm trying," he whispered. "I'm trying to fix this." I wanted to yell at him. I wanted to tell him there was no fixing anything. I wanted to ask why he let this happen. Why he let me marry him. Why he let me wear a dress and smile in photos and believe in something that wasn't real. But before I could speak, he stepped forward. "Emma," he said, "listen to me. You need to stay with me. Don't go outside. It isn't safe. You don't know who's here." "What do you mean?" My stomach turned. "Who's here?" He froze. His silence was an answer I didn't like. "Mark," I whispered, "is it the same people your uncle was talking about?" His eyes darted toward the window. "They're not here for you," he said softly. "They want me. They think I owe them." I stepped back slowly. My knees felt weak. "What did you do?" He opened his mouth, then closed it again. He rubbed his forehead with both hands. "I got mixed up with the wrong people. I thought I could handle it. I thought once we were married, everything would calm down." "So you married me," I said, "to make your life look normal?" He froze. I stared at him, and he stared back at me, and the truth sat between us like something rotten. I reached for the door. "Emma, wait," he said, rushing forward. I grabbed the handle. He caught my arm, not hard, not rough, but enough to stop me. "Let go," I said. He shook his head, eyes pleading. "Don't go out there. You don't know who's watching. I'll explain everything. Please give me a chance." I pulled my arm free. "I give you 3 years, Mark. I don't have any more chances to give." He stepped back like the words pushed him. But before either of us could do anything else, before he could try to explain, or lie, or cry, there was a loud crash downstairs. A shout. Then another. People screamed. Mark's eyes went wide. "They're here," he whispered. No, 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 no. They can't be here already." I dropped my bag. "Who is here?" I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he ran to the window and pulled the curtain back just enough to peek outside. When he looked down, he cursed under his breath. "What do you see?" I asked, stepping closer. "You need to pack," he said quickly. "Right now. Hurry." His panic made the room feel like it was shrinking. "Mark, tell me what's happening." He turned to me, face pale. "There are 2 cars outside. Black ones. Not press. Not family. They're here because they think I ran off with their money." "And did you?" I asked. His silence was my answer. I took a step back. "So I'm stuck in a hotel with people who want to hurt you." He rubbed his hands over his face. "They won't hurt you. They just want me. I'll talk to them. I'll walk down on my own. I just need you to stay in the room until it's over." "You want me to hide?" I said softly. He nodded. "And then what?" I asked. "I stay married to someone who cheated and lied and put me in danger?" His face broke. "Emma, I messed up. I know that. I'll fix it. I'll get the money. I'll explain everything. Just please don't leave me right now." Something deep inside me snapped. I shook my head. "I can't stay in this room with you. I need to breathe. And I need to think." Before he could stop me, I opened the door and stepped into the hallway. A hotel employee ran past shouting, "Everyone stay in your rooms. Security is handling a disturbance on the first floor." Mark rushed after me. "Emma, please." I didn't look back. I walked toward the elevator with my heart pounding. I lifted my chin even though my body was trembling. I refused to look scared even if I was. Behind me, Mark called my name again. I kept walking. The elevator dinged and the doors slid open. I stepped inside. Mark reached for the doors, but they closed before he could. The elevator began to descend, and the quiet felt like a punch to the ears. I tried to breathe steady, but my hands were shaking. When the elevator reached the lobby, the doors opened to a mess of people, hotel workers trying to block entrances, guests taking videos, and security guards trying to push back onlookers. And then I saw him. Not Mark. Not his uncle. A man I didn't know standing near the entrance, holding a worn brown folder. He wasn't dressed like press or hotel staff. He didn't look angry or rushed. He looked like someone who had been waiting calmly for exactly this moment. And he was looking directly at me. His eyes met mine like he knew me. Like he had been searching for me. My stomach twisted. He took one slow step forward. Then another. I felt the hair rise on the back of my neck. I stepped back into the elevator. But before I could hit the button to close the doors, he spoke. "Mrs. Collins," he said in a calm, low voice that made my blood run cold. "We need to talk." The elevator door slid shut in his face. My heart jumped into my throat. I fumbled for the buttons, pressing the one for the top floor, my hands trembling so hard I almost missed it. When the elevator began to rise, I leaned against the wall, my knees shaking. Who was he? And how did he know my name? The elevator climbed, slowly, painfully. Just before it reached the top floor, the lights flickered. The elevator jerked. And then, with a loud metallic bang, the entire elevator stopped between floors. I gasped and grabbed the railing as the elevator swayed slightly. The lights dimmed again. I stared up. Something was wrong. Very wrong. And far, far below me, someone shouted my name. A voice that did not belong to Mark. "Emma." The elevator lights flickered again. The elevator shook. My breath caught in my chest as the ceiling vent rattled. Someone's hands, were trying to pry it open. I backed into the corner, trembling. Whoever was up there, they were trying to get inside. And the chapter ends right there on that terrifying moment as the elevator hangs between floors and someone tries to break into it from above. The ceiling vent shook again. Dust rained down in soft gray flakes. My breath came out fast, too fast. I pressed myself tighter into the corner of the elevator, my palms flat against the cold metal. My mind was running, tripping over itself, screaming at me to move, to hide, to do something. But there was nowhere to go. No window to escape through. No back door. Just a box suspended between two floors and a pair of hands trying to rip it open. "Stop," I shouted, though my voice came out thin and terrified. "Who's up there?" "Stop." The hands paused. Only for a second. Then the metal groaned again as the vent cover started to bend. Whoever was up there wasn't guessing. They weren't confused. They knew exactly where I was. Exactly what they wanted. And exactly how to get to me. I fumbled for the emergency phone, ripping open the panel and pressing the red button. A small beep followed, then a faint ringing. "Come on," I whispered. "Come on, someone answer." Finally, a voice crackled through the small speaker. "Hotel security. Are you stuck in the elevator?" Yes, yes," I gasped. "Someone is trying to open the ceiling. Please send help." There was a long pause on the other end. "Too long." "Ma'am," the voice said slowly, "all our security staff are downstairs handling a disturbance." "I know." I nearly screamed. "And someone is trying to get in here." The person didn't respond. Their silence was worse than any noise. "Hello," I said. "Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?" Nothing. The connection died with a sharp crackle. I stared at the speaker like it had betrayed me, because it had. Then, bang. The vent cover flew open. Not all the way, but enough. Enough for me to see a hand reaching down. Enough for me to see fingers gripping the metal. Enough for me to see a dark sleeve. And then, a face. Just a glimpse. A man's eyes staring down at me. Cold. Focused. Not confused. Not panicked. Not angry. Just certain. The same man from the lobby. The one holding the brown folder. The one who said he needed to talk. He spoke through the gap in a calm, controlled voice. "Mrs. Collins," he said again. "Please don't panic. I'm here to help you." I shook my head so hard my vision blurred. "Help me? You're breaking into an elevator." "I'm not here to hurt you," he said calmly. "But you're in danger. Much more danger than you realize. You need to leave me alone." I yelled. He didn't react. Not even a blink. "Your husband made promises he cannot keep," he said. "And some people think you know more than you do." My heart stopped. "I don't know anything." I cried. "That's why you need to come with me," he said. "Before someone less patient finds you first." The elevator swayed. I grabbed the railing to keep from falling. "No," I whispered. "No. I'm not going anywhere with you." His jaw tightened slightly, but he didn't get angry. Instead, he lowered his voice. "Emma," he said, "the people after your husband aren't amateurs. They aren't bluffing. They aren't here for a conversation. The only reason they haven't come after you yet is because they haven't seen the video leaked from your phone." My eyes widened. "My phone?" I whispered. I didn't leak anything." "I know," he said calmly. "Which is exactly why you're in danger. They think you did." That hit me like a punch to the stomach. "I didn't." My voice cracked. "I swear I didn't." "I believe you," he said. "But they won't." The elevator jolted again. Harder this time. I gasped and clung to the railing. In a minute, the man said, "Your husband is going to realize you're gone. He's going to come looking. And they're going to follow him." His hand extended toward me through the vent. "Come with me," he said. "I can get you out of the hotel without anyone seeing. You'll be safe." Safe? Nothing about him felt safe. But then, from below the elevator, I heard something else. Footsteps. Multiple footsteps. Men's voices echoing in the elevator shaft. One voice yelled, "Check the elevator. If she's inside, pull it down manually." My blood turned to ice. They were below me. And the man above me, he was the only one not shouting. The only one not rushing. The only one who knew my name. The elevator shook violently as someone below banged on the door. "Emma," a rough voice shouted. "Open the door." My legs trembled. My fingers dug into the railing so hard they hurt. The man above spoke again, firmer this time. "Mrs. Collins, listen to me. This elevator will not hold if they force it. You have 30 seconds to decide. I can pull you up, or you can wait for them." Something slammed below, metal bending. Something heavy hit the side of the elevator. My ears rang. The elevator's cable creaked. My heart pounded so hard I couldn't hear anything else. I looked up at the man again. I didn't trust him. But I trusted the voices below even less. He extended his hand further. "Emma. Now." I squeezed my eyes shut. This was insane. This was dangerous. This was terrifying. But staying where I was worse. I opened my eyes. He nodded once, like he could see the moment I broke. But before I could grab his hand, the entire elevator shifted. Not gently. Not a small sway. It dropped an inch. A sharp, violent jerk. So sudden I screamed. I stumbled forward and slammed into the elevator wall. Below, the men shouted. "She's inside. Get the crowbar. Hurry up." The man above didn't wait. He reached farther down, nearly falling through the opening, and grabbed my arm. His fingers clamped around my wrist like iron. "Hold on," he shouted. I can't." My voice broke. "You can. Don't look down." I let out a trembling breath. Then I grabbed his forearm with both hands. His grip tightened. He began to lift me. My feet left the ground. The elevator swayed again. Someone below yelled, "Pull the door open." Metal screamed. I screamed with it. My legs kicked as he dragged me upward. I felt the edge of the vent against my ribs. He grunted, pulled harder, and my body slipped halfway through the opening. I felt cold air rush across my back. Then, a hand from below shot up into the elevator and grabbed my ankle. I choked on a scream. Got her, the man below shouted. My body jerked downward. My fingers slipped. No, the man above barked. Let her go. He pulled harder. The man below yanked again. I was caught between both hands like a rope in a tug-of-war. Stop, I screamed, legs kicking helplessly. Let go of me. Neither hand let go. Neither hand stopped. The man above leaned farther into the opening, fingers digging into my skin. Then he growled through clenched teeth. Emma, kick him. My mind blinked. I what? Kick his hand. No. I shook my head, panicked. I can't. You can. The man below dug his nails into my ankle. Pain shot up my leg. Let go. I screamed. Kick him, the man above ordered. I squeezed my eyes shut. And with every ounce of panic, anger, pain, and betrayal inside me, I kicked him. Hard. The hand below slipped. I kicked again. The man cursed. And then, his grip broke. The man above yanked me upward with a force that nearly dislocated my arm. And suddenly, I was out of the elevator and lying flat on the metal floor of the shaft above, gasping, shaking, and crying. My rescuers slammed the vent cover shut. Below, furious voices shouted as fists pounded against the elevator walls. We almost had her. Get the tools. Pull it down. Their rage echoed through the shaft like thunder. The man crouched beside me, breathing hard. Are you hurt? He asked. I shook my head, unable to speak. He helped me sit up. His grip was firm, steady, not rough. We have to move, he said. There's a maintenance door 20 feet above us. Once we reach it, I can get you outside. I stared at him through blurry eyes. Who are you? I whispered. He paused. Then he spoke softly. My name is Daniel Hart. The name meant nothing to me. But the next words did. I was hired to find your husband, he said. And now I'm trying to save you from him. My breath caught. What? I whispered. He held my gaze. Firm. Certain. Serious. Emma, the man you married is much more dangerous than the affair you saw. The elevator below shook again, metal screeching. Daniel stood up and extended his hand to help me rise. We need to go. And once we're out of here, I'll tell you the real reason your husband didn't touch you on your wedding night. The chapter ends there, on that revelation, on that terror, on that new layer of betrayal. The metal shaft echoed with distant pounding from the trapped men below. Each slam vibrated through the steel floor beneath me. I clutched the cold rail beside me, trying to steady my breath. For a moment, the world was only the sound of my heartbeat thudding in my ears. Daniel stood above me, calm but urgent. His eyes were the kind that didn't shake. The kind that had seen danger before and walked through it anyway. Emma, he said, we don't have long. The elevator cables won't hold if they keep forcing the doors. You need to get up. My legs trembled as I stood. He steadied my arm as the shaft hummed and echoed beneath us. You said you'd tell me why he didn't touch me, I whispered, almost afraid to hear the answer. What does that have to do with anything? Daniel looked at me with a mixture of pity and seriousness that made my stomach twist. It has everything to do with it, he said. But we're moving first. You ask questions while we climb. Climb? My knees went weak again. 20 feet didn't sound like much until you were suspended above metal beams and a broken elevator full of angry people. He didn't wait for me to respond. He began climbing the maintenance ladder bolted into the wall of the shaft. I followed, slow, shaking, but determined. Every rung clanged under our weight, echoing down the shaft like warning bells. Mark didn't refuse you because he was tired, Daniel said as he climbed. He didn't refuse you because of nerves or guilt. Then why? I asked, breathing hard, desperate for the truth. Because he wasn't supposed to touch you, Daniel said. Not until the deal was complete. I froze halfway up the ladder. The deal? I choked. Yes, Daniel said softly. The people he owed money to, they didn't trust him to pay. So he offered them something else. I gripped the ladder so tightly my knuckles turned white. What did he offer them? He didn't speak right away. The silence was so heavy it felt like the whole shaft was holding its breath. Then Daniel said the words that broke everything. He promised them you. My heart stopped. What? I whispered. Me? For what reason? Daniel kept climbing, but his voice softened. Emma, Mark didn't marry you because he loved you. He married you because someone told him to. Someone who believed you would bring money, credibility, a clean life he could hide behind. You were supposed to make him look stable, safe, responsible. And once the paperwork cleared, my voice cracked. He would hand me over? Daniel's silence was the answer. My throat closed. My fingers slipped, and I had to clutch the ladder again with both hands. He couldn't touch you on the wedding night, Daniel continued. He couldn't ruin the plan. You were supposed to be kept presentable. Presentable. The words stabbed my heart. My wedding night, my dream, my life, had been nothing more than a transaction to him. A business deal. A trade. A lie. My stomach twisted so hard it hurt. But why the video with Lila? Why was she? Daniel interrupted gently. That was real. That wasn't part of the deal. That was his mistake. He got sloppy. He got comfortable. He slipped. And I paid for it, I whispered shakily. We reached the maintenance door. Daniel pushed it open with his shoulder, and warm air filled the shaft as we climbed out onto a dim, dusty corridor lined with pipes and service carts. He shut the door behind us and turned to me. You weren't supposed to find out yet, he said. Not about the cheating. Not about the money. Not about the deal. I felt dizzy. Nausea climbed up my throat. So what now? What do they want? Why are they after me? Daniel stepped closer, lowering his voice. When the video leaked, they thought you did it to expose everything. I didn't. I cried. I swear, Daniel, I didn't. I believe you, he said quickly. But they don't. They think you're a threat. They think you'll ruin their plans. My voice trembled. Are they going to hurt me? No, Daniel said, surprising me. Not if I get you out of this hotel. Not if we move fast. And not if you listen carefully. He paused, making sure I was really hearing him. From this moment forward, Mark's problems are not your problems. You do not owe him silence. You do not owe him loyalty. You do not owe him forgiveness. What you owe yourself is safety. I nodded slowly, feeling tears gather in my eyes. Daniel continued. Once we're out, I'm taking you somewhere safe. Then you'll decide what comes next. And Mark? I asked. Daniel's jaw tightened. Mark made his choice. And choices have consequences. He motioned down the hallway, and we began to move quickly but quietly. The metal pipes rattled overhead. My legs still shook, but my heart had begun to harden slowly, painfully. I wasn't just scared anymore. I was angry. Not wild anger. Not the kind that makes you reckless. The quiet kind. The cold kind. The kind that grows from betrayal. As we rounded a corner, I could hear the faint echo of chaos below, shouting, frantic footsteps, hotel alarms. They're searching every floor, Daniel whispered. The weight of everything crushed down on me. The cheating, the lies, the fake marriage, the danger I never agreed to, the strangers who now wanted to find me. And worst of all, I married a man who had sold me. I felt my throat tighten. My vision blurred. I stopped walking. Daniel turned. Emma? I need, my breath shook. I need one moment. Just one. He nodded. Take it. So I leaned against the wall, my palms pressed to the cool concrete. And I breathed. Slowly. Deeply. Shakily. I wasn't the naive woman from last night anymore. I wasn't the bride waiting for her husband to touch her, to hold her, to choose her. That girl was gone. A new version of me, hurt, yes, but awake, was taking her place. When I finally lifted my head, Daniel watched me carefully. I'm ready, I whispered. And I was. We moved again. At the end of the service hallway was a gray metal exit door. Daniel stopped and glanced at me. Behind this door is the loading dock, he said. A back exit. No press. No wedding guests. No men in black cars. And Mark? I asked. Mark won't reach you, Daniel said. Not before we're gone. And after today, he won't get close to you again. I swallowed hard. Emma, Daniel added gently, what they planned for you, the life they meant for you, none of that will happen now. Then he opened the door. Sunlight flooded in. Bright. Warm. Free. I stepped outside and felt air hit my face. For the first time since last night, I could breathe without panic wrapping fingers around my throat. Daniel guided me toward a black sedan parked behind a stack of delivery crates. "This is your new start," he said. I hesitated by the open door. "Daniel, what happens next?" He stared at me with steady, careful eyes. "You tell your story," he said. "You tell the truth. And you never let anyone use you again." A small, broken sound escaped my throat. "But I lost everything." "No," Daniel said. "You found out the truth before your life became something you couldn't escape from. That's not losing. That's surviving." I looked down at my wedding ring, shiny, heavy, fake. And for the first time, I slipped it off. My hand felt lighter. Stronger. Daniel gave me a small nod, like he approved. Then I got into the car. As he closed the door, voices rang out from behind the hotel, shouts, running feet, but the car engine roared to life before any of them reached us. Daniel climbed into the driver's seat. "Hold on," he said. And we sped away. Past the hotel. Past the chaos. Past the lie of a life I almost married into. Toward something new. Something honest. Something mine. I didn't know the future yet. But I knew one thing. My revenge wouldn't be loud. It wouldn't be violent. It wouldn't be petty. It would be simple. I would survive better than they ever planned for me to. And that alone would destroy everything they tried to build on my back.